allegory, we have to look at symbolism. If I am binding them on my fingers, I'm writing it out, I'm thinking about it, it's becoming a part of my world, right? I'm meditating, I'm writing them on the tablet of my heart. How do I do that? By reading them, right? It's by reading them, it's by meditating on his precepts and his ways. All right, so we're going to look here for a minute, a deep dive into the 10 commandments. Now, one of my personal beliefs is that the 10 commandments are structured in what's called a chiastic pattern, meaning that they reflect each other. Just like, to me, the menorah and the feasts do that. When you look at it, you've got the shamash candle, which is Shavuot, right? Which is the gifts of the bridegroom, and Pentecost, and the giving of the Torah, the word, and he's in that middle. So we can say everything else wraps around that and points to him, whether it be the spring or the fall. All those things point to that middle handle, that shamash, right? And I believe that the 10 commandments work in the same way. So we're going through, and I'm going to be showing you this chiastic pattern here, and we'll get to the heart of the 10 commandments as we work our way. So let's start in Exodus 20, 1 through 3 gives us commandment number 1. It says, and Elohim spoke, and we've got the Aleph Tav there, right? And Elohim spoke, Aleph Tav, all these words, saying, I am Yahuah Eloheka, which have brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim before me. So if I was going to interpret that and get the heart of it in a language that's easier to understand, I would say Yah is telling us he wants us to take pleasure in who he is, like a directive. Take pleasure in who I am, and let that be enough for you. Don't go after dangled fruit of empty promises, right? This is why he's saying, don't have any other Elohim before me. All those things are just dangled, empty promises before you. So now, how does this relate over to 10? So let's look at that. Exodus 20:17. You shall not lust after your neighbor's house. You shall not lust after your neighbor's woman, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is your neighbor's. So what is lust? It's hamad, right? That's the word. And I've got it in the pictograph here for you. It is a het, a mem, and a dalet. Okay. So we've got waters in the middle. So in these primitive root words, we start in the middle. Okay. And what do we see? We see the chaotic up and down. To me, it always can speak of emotion. Okay. So we're looking at things that are emotional, things that make us go, I need that. I want that. Right. So lust, there's chaotic waters. Okay. And then there's a fence and a doorway. Okay. So chaos will fence you in. Lust will fence in your emotions and cause you to go through that door of chaos, if that's what's allowed to lead. Hi, T. Good morning. Good to see you this morning. Right. And so this is how going after other Elohims happens. The fruit's dangled, something's dangled before you, and it grabs the lust that's in your heart. And then before you know it, you're not taking pleasure that Yah is enough and what he has for you is enough, but you're going after the strange thing, the thing that wasn't for us, right? So let me look at Donna's comment. She says, amen. I know we are to meditate on the word, put it in our mind and our awareness. That is in our forehead and on our hand. That is always ready to do good. Absolutely. Thank you, Donna. That's a great way of putting it. Okay. So that we've covered 1 and 10. Now let's look at our next chiastic pattern right over here in 2 and 9. Exodus 20, 4 through 6 says, you shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuah Eloheka, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and guard, shamar, right? Guard, put a fence around, take care of my commandments, right? So, I mean, look right there. There's so much detail that things that are in the heavens above, right? Principalities of the air, okay? In the water underneath, why did Yeshua calm the storm and walk across the waters? Except to show that he was over every principality that resides in the waters. We were just talking about these principalities, these water spirits, right? Earlier this week. Okay. You're not to bow down to them. You don't go after those. Don't serve them, right? Because I'm jealous over you. I mean, his plan of redemption was already in place. It wasn't like he just came up with it when Yeshua actually came and gave his life for us. This plan was always in place for our redemption. He is never surprised by the tactics of the enemy. He never goes, oh no, what am I going to do now? Right? That's not our Yah. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He knows all things, right? He is not surprised by anything, and his plan is sure. His plan is in place, and it will go forward despite what any principality or person does, right? He shows, he shows how when we operate, when we involve ourselves with these little Elohim, right? These the fallen principalities, right? Principalities of the powers of the air and the water and these spirits. And when we get ourselves involved with this, it affects our gene pool down to, generationally. This is what he was trying to tell us about the days of Noah, what had happened, right? And so when we involve ourselves with this, generations after us have the fight of their life on them, right? Because it's right there. But he shows mercy unto thousands that love him and that guard his commandments. If you're willing to take that stand and draw a bloodline, right? Say, I'm applying Yeshua's blood to my bloodline, right? I mean, it makes a different, there comes in the mercy upon your gene pool and upon your family. Okay. So how does this relate to number 9? Okay, it says Exodus 20:16, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Okay, so there's no place for being a liar in the kingdom. It says this is how you recognize those that do not belong in the kingdom. He says they're liars, right? They're cold-hearted, they lie. We are not to lie to ourselves, right? That making a deal with the devil will secure favor in our lives, right? He's saying don't have dealings with these little Elohims, right? Don't believe their lies. Okay. They're bearing false witness against Yah. That's exactly what we saw Hasatan do in the garden. Dangle the fruit. Did Yah really say, right? Remember, he is the accuser of the brethren, and all that, those principalities and powers, they're all liars, right? That's what they do. They lie. They're trying to overtake humanity's birthright, right? We have the birthright of dominion upon the face of the earth because we are made in the image of Elohim. It is our birthright, right? But if they can get us all to a state where we forfeit it and become less than human by corrupting the sulfuric bridge and the name of Yah within our every cell of our body, by participating in the demonic technology that's being perpetrated upon the earth, right? If he can get enough, that tipping point, right? What's the tipping point to when what was humanity is no longer fully human, right? What's the tipping point of when the iron has mixed to clay with such a degree that they have free reign, and it comes in like a flood, right? And with their agendas. I mean, you can tell we're headed in that direction, and that's what's happening, right? So in 9, he's saying, don't bear false witness against your neighbor, right? There's no place in the kingdom for lying in the kingdom. We're not to lie to ourselves, that making a deal with the devil will secure favor in our lives, right? We're not going to get eternal life that way. People only lie about other people to elevate themselves in some way. They are looking to gain something from it, whether it be wealth, power, influence, and position. So we're understanding how this spirit of false witness, of slander, what's behind it, right? And this is how it works, because it's going hand in hand with the principalities and powers of the air and under the water, right? That's what's happening. Let's look at the next one. Okay. Commandments number 3 and 8. Exodus 27 says, you shall not take the name of Yahuah Eloheka in vain, for Yahuah will not hold him guiltless, Aleph Tav, that takes his name in vain. Okay, so what is this word vain? What does this mean? What does it mean to take his word in vain? Let's look at the actual word. It is a shin, a vav, and an aleph. The word is shav in Hebrew. And the definition, okay, is to make empty or worthless, to ravage or destroy, to bring devastation or ruin by rushing over, as in a violent storm. Well, what is a violent storm? A violent storm is a whirlwind. And this is the word in Hebrew for a violent storm, like a tornadoes and hurricanes and things of that nature, is Sair, which is very interesting, because that is also the name of a goat, right? And so there is, it's all tied up with Esau. You can see it in the description of Esau. So we're seeing that this principality and power working through that lineage, through that seed line that's been corrupted, is like a whirlwind. Okay, it comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Oh, it's very interesting. I know I've got a lot of teaching on this when I've been looking at different things of Esau, and you'll see more as you watch my videos. I tend to dig into that quite a bit. I know I'm writing a big section about it in my book. Okay, commandment number 8, Exodus 20:15. You shall not steal. All right, so how does this line up, right? But with taking the name in vain. So to steal is to ganab. That is the word in Hebrew. Okay, so what we see from this word, the Hebrew word ganab, is we have a gimel, we've got a noon, and a bet. All right, so we're looking at what's in the middle of this word to find the middle of it. Well, it's life. It's the noon. It's life coming forth. It's new plants. It's a fish darting through the water. It's new life springing up in a plant. It's semen. It looks just like semen in the pictograph. I mean, honestly, it's new life sprouting forth, right? It's your generations. It's your genome. Okay, so when we've got this gimel in front of it, it's the camel's foot. It's about your journey, your walk, your path, where you're going, right? And then it's got a house, right? And so to steal is, this word, when I looked at it, like in Brown Driver Briggs and Strong's and the etymology and things, it comes down to something that is being carried away by stealth. Well, that is stealing, right? Something carried away by stealth. Well, when we devastate or ruin his name and make it the take it in vain, when you ravage, destroy, bring to devastation his name, which is in our DNA, right? This is the sulfuric bridge. The sulfuric bridge that separates all those letters of DNA is yhvh. So you've got 10,565, 10,565, 10,565 is the numbers of the sulfuric bridge separating the different letters that are in the DNA code of every living being. When you mess with that, what are you doing but carrying away by stealth, stealing Yah's name out of his humanity? So there's another connection there, right? So he's not going to hold those guiltless who do this. You don't mess with what is Yah by bringing destruction and ravaging his name out of his people. Okay, now let's go on to 4 and 7. I love this one. This is the first place where it dawned on me and it started making sense. I was studying about the Sabbath and I was trying to look at this to see if I saw any connections. And this was the very first connection that I saw. So, commandment number 4 is Exodus 28 through 11. And it says, remember the day of the Shabbat to keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Shabbat of Yahuah Eloheka. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the day of Shabbat and hallowed it. Okay, then number 7 tells us in Exodus 20:14, you shall not break wedlock. All right, how does this go together? Let's look at the Shabbat. Shabbat is the Shin, the Bet, and the Tav, right? We've got the house going into the inner chamber, right? That's what the Bet represents. It's a place of intimacy, right? And it's surrounded by the Tav on one side, which is a covenant, and a Shin on the other, right? It's a destroying force. So, it's almost like anything that tries to come against this house of my covenant, I'm going to destroy, right? To partake of the covenant promises. Shabbat is meant to partake of the covenant promises that belong to those of his house. These are his covenant promises. If you have come in as the bride of Yeshua, but refuse to obey the rules of your bridegroom's house. This is what he said. These are my house rules. I love you. Welcome. Be my bride. Come on in. Let's fellowship together. But this bride says, I don't like the rules of your house. I want to make up my own. How intimate is she? Is she going to the inner chamber? Is she a faithful bride? Right? If you would prefer to be out in the world, right, shopping and doing whatever the world is doing, rather than just being intimate with your bridegroom, right? Who does your heart really belong to? Are you not breaking wedlock with your bridegroom if you refuse to honor his Shabbat? If you say, well, it's just more convenient for my life to make it on a different day, and I just prefer that. Are you a faithful bride? I mean, because it's not about doing what we want to do the way that we want to do it. It's about conforming ourselves and our desires to his will. I know that my own personal relationship with my husband, if, he had said, okay, on this day, this is my day off. I would like to stay home and the two of us just spend time together, And if I was constantly saying, well, you can just stay home by yourself because I'd rather go out and do this with my friends and do this with this person and do this. And I had no interest in fellowshipping with him, my marriage would not last very long. right? Because there would be no intimacy in it. There would be no fellowship in it. My heart would belong somewhere else. And it's breaking that wedlock. And Yah doesn't feel any differently about us. He gave us his commands because that's the rules of his house. It's up to us whether or not we want to abide by his rules. Okay. So here we get to the crux of the matter. And this was really, I've had to really think. I don't even know that I'm totally done thinking about this one, right? I'm having to really stretch on this one. And it is because of the own trauma in my own life. And I'm going to connect that here in a minute. And we're going to talk about some what keeps us, the traumas that affect us personally, that are our handicaps to doing things Yah's way. All right. So number 5 says, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which Yahweh Elohega gives you. Now, this I learned from Dr. Pigeon. He was teaching one day, and he was saying, I get it, because I know people write to him and have these questions. He was saying, I get it. Some of you came from very destructive households, right? And trying to wrap your brains around, how am I going to honor a man who sexually abused me? How am I going to honor a man who beat me to within an inch of my life? How am I going to honor a woman who abandoned me? How am I going to honor those that betrayed me? Right? So this is a thought that Dr. Pigeon shared, and I've really thought about it a while. I keep thinking about it. And what he shared was, and I'm just paraphrasing from what I remember how he stated it. It's not his exact words, right? He said, it's the spark of the union of a man and a woman that creates life in the womb. Without that union, you would not exist. I can be thankful for the spark that resulted in me. I can thank Yahweh for that union that gave me existence, right? Because it says in his word that he knew me before I was even in the womb, right? He also knew whatever trials and hardships and things, nothing happens without it passing by his throne. Does it mean that he wishes evil upon us? No, but evil is part of this world. It is. There's a fight going on for the souls of men. And I don't understand all the rules of the game. I don't understand how it all works, right? But I know that ultimately Yah wins, right? So I'm going to be on his side. And there's a couple of principles that I live by when my mind comes up against things that are just too hard to understand, right? And it is, I've already understood the basic principle that Yah already knew me in the womb, that he loves me, that he is love, that he is perfect, that I'm always under his loving hand, and that I can always go to him, right? And I understand that he wins, right? And I understand there's a conflict beyond what my understanding is going on, right? And so I've given myself what I call a mystery box when I come up against something, because I think that when we're dealing with trauma, I don't know that there was a specific, like, I don't think that that's ever what Yah intended for us, right? So I don't think that there's some big, trauma box that's this perfect place that I can just put it and it's not going to affect me. It's going to affect me. And I'm going to have to learn how to navigate my way through it so that it does not incapacitate me. It does not keep me from fulfilling my destiny, and that Satan doesn't win out over me because of the traumas that are inflicted, right? So I have to figure out a way that, as trauma victims, say, your family of origin, it was not anything that feels like you want to honor, right? honor the fact that that union brought you life. That's what Dr. Pidgeot, start there. I think it's a starting point, right? And as we learn and grow and heal, that more ability is added. And I'm going to share some resources here with you in a minute that I think are there for us to continue on that path of healing. All right. Exodus 20:13 is commandment 6. You shall not kill. Well, what is to kill? Ratzah. There's a resh, there's a zadi, and a hay. And so what is this word picture saying is to kill. We need to watch out for the principality, right? There's a principality. This is to kill. There's a principality that's hidden like a snake in the grass, right? And so the watch out for that. Behold, this is real. There's principalities that like to hide themselves, right? It makes so much sense to me with the the agenda of corrupting the genome, right? To make it other than human. Okay, let's continue.